Alright YouTubes, how are we all doing? Hope you're all well. Thanks for tuning in and welcome back to the channel. I've had a little break and I feel absolutely knackered at the minute. I don't know how you lot are feeling, but yeah, everything seems to be a struggle at the moment. But yeah, maybe I'm getting a bit too old for this job. I need to get someone else in to do it, I think. And I can just sit there telling people what to do. That's how it should be, I think, at my age. But there we go. I'm still in it. So anyway, today's video, we've got a Range Rover Velar in. I like these cars, they're nice. And what it's in for these two doors to be painted. And I don't know if that shows up on camera, but they've been painted, and oh, the job is horrendous on it, really bad. I don't know if you can see it, like there's barely any lacquer, it's orange peel and dry, there's not enough clear coat up here, and it's that rough, you could strike a match on that. It's terrible. And then it's all over it, it's all been, they've tried to flatten polish, all loads of dry spots, there's all bits and blisters and a big hair in the base coat, and then loads of bits of crap that's landed in the base coat. It looks like they tried to nib it, and I don't know if it shows up, it's all blotchy and all the metallics standing up at the wrong angle, and there's all scratches in the base coat. I don't know how much that shows up on here. Let me get my light, I don't know. So yeah, I'm not sure, it doesn't really show up in here too much. Wow, yeah, you can sort of see some scratching through there, but oh, it's really blotchy. There's all like lumps and bumps in the base coat, and yeah, obviously the colour sort of flaking, they've masked around everything. So yeah, it's got a multitude, it's got, you know, pretty much most of the defects you could get in a paint job, it's got on these panels. So yeah, apart from runs, I can't see any runs that they might have flatted out. They couldn't have got runs. The paint's too dry to get runs. So yeah, that's what we've got to do. We've got to repaint these two doors and blend it. So I'll be blending that quarter panel. I'll be blending this wing, but there's probably going to be edge to edge here because for that section there, they're not going to want to pay for the bonnet to be blended. That's probably a bit overkill, so I need to obviously try and match colour best I can to the top of this bonnet. It's probably just about get awayable, that little bit there, but we'll blend the wing. So we're going to strip everything off mostly, but I've took the caps off of these handles. One of them's all been polished through. So the caps come off on these handles, pretty simple and easy. Just there's a little gap, you poke a little flat-headed screwdriver up there and just push it to the side, and they unclip, which makes it a little bit easier to paint these doors. To get these mechanisms out, they're an absolute mission. Everything's got to come out the door. Everything, the glass regulator, all of it, all the trims around the frames and everything, just to get them handles out. So they are a pain, these deploying handles, when you've got to paint these doors. But when it's shut, so what I have done in the past is that when it's already, I've masked up everything and shut the doors, I lock it, and then obviously there's a bit of a gap in there to get taping onto that rubber and mask them off that way. Sort of mask this top piece off and then lock them. So yeah, you can see in there as well, like it's all full of overspray, so I was gonna, you know, try and get all that out. Loads of it in there. But yeah, they are a pain, these handles. I've took one out before and I thought, and that was just to paint it, and I thought I'm not doing that again. It took me probably 3/4 of a day to get that handle out. So yeah, they're staying in, but everything else is going to come off. So get the scope and mouldings off, the mirror off, the trim, and then bottom trims I think come off not too bad as well. So yeah, that's it. Rectifying a really bad paint job. Hopefully I can make it a little bit better, but there we go. So yeah, sometimes you wonder how someone even accepted that job, especially on a car like this. But who knows what the story is. Anyway, it's another job for us to rectify it. So there we go. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, I'm going to get these bits stripped off the door. How I'm going to tackle this, it doesn't look like there's filler. They look quite straight, to be fair. I'm not sure. I think there may be something going on here repair wise, but from what I can see, they look pretty straight. I can't see any like bad filler work or anything. But what I'm going to do is there's quite a mismatch of the materials. You know, the clear coats sort of, I don't know, it looks heavy in places and then dry in other places. So I'm just going to give the doors like a good block with 320 grit and then 500 grit them, and then see what they're like. They're going to want some sort of primer on there, because there's going to be breakthroughs and all the rest of it. So I'm probably going to just give them doors a couple of coats of primer, and probably not high build, but like the compact filler where it's a bit thinner. More thinners in it on the compact filler, just to seal it all in. I'll see what they're like. I might be able to wet them and just go straight on with the paint, but I'll see what they're like first. But yeah, that's what I'm going to do first, is just block through them with 320 grit, and then get them all prepped up, 500 grit, get the blend panels prepped up with 800 grit and Scotch-Brite, and then see what they like, see whether they need some primer on there, or whether I might be able to put some wet on them and paint them. So yeah, that'll be it. So yeah, I'll get these bits stripped out and then get on with the preparation. Right then, YouTubes, thanks for tuning in and watching the new video. So yeah, thing about stripping and fitting on jobs, it's a difficult one. So you've got to weigh it up sometimes. It's you know, where I'm doing all the jobs myself and there's a budget on a job, obviously everything being stripped out of a panel that you're painting is the perfect scenario. And when you're working, say, insurance crash repair, it's all governed that way for everything to be taken off. But sometimes it can be more hassle than it's worth. You know, painting up to stuff that's masked up, there's always a risk of build up between your layers of paint, especially if you've got to do primer work or repairs around trims and stuff. And you know what modern cars are like now, that there's just trims everywhere, plastic clips break all the time, and it can be a lot of hassle, especially for something sometimes that's not even, you know, a great deal of work to repair and paint. So yeah, I have to weigh it up sometimes whether it's worth the hassle, but I do like to try. And especially on cars that I haven't stripped before, like to give it a go. It's always trial and error, but then you know for the next time, you know, it's yeah, when you start doing a few cars and this similar makes, you get to sort of learn how they come apart, like door cards, handles, mirrors, where the connectors are and stuff like that. So yeah, it's always it can always be a challenge stripping stuff. Like I say, if it's for small repairs, sometimes it's not worth the time and effort. You can spend more time stripping and fitting than you would actually doing the repair and paint. But obviously this job here, they'd masked everything up. It was all flaking around where they'd masked, and all that paint had to have a good old sanding. So yeah, stripped off as much as we could, but I'm not taking that mechanism out. But there's ways around it, but you've got to try and find a happy medium if you're doing it for yourself. But like I say, ideally, you want to try and take off as much stuff as you can. So yeah, to start this job off, I didn't want to just attack it with a DA. There was a lot of product on this job, you know, that you could see all the defects in the base coat, and the clear coat was a mess, and it was all uneven. The clear coat, it was heavier in places, it had been flat and polished in places, and it was dry as a bone in other places. So I sort of used that coating on there, use it like primer really, so give it a good blocking. So I'm blocking all of it was 320, you know, as if it was primer really, instead of putting the DA all over it. With that amount of material on there, you're going to probably cause some ripples. But yeah, I'm having a bit of an issue there. That paint it's not like fully cured, whether the base coat was still a bit soft underneath, but it was really sort of chewy, the clear coat, and it was just clogging up the 320 grit, clogging it up, and obviously then clogged up bits of material, clear coat on the sandpaper, are then going to start scoring what you're sanding. So I'm just using a little wire brush just to keep taking off the bits that were clogging up the paper, and just trying to, you know, block it as evenly as possible and avoiding breakthroughs, really, because I think, you know, if I had to take all of that defective paint off of there, you know, you're going to end up sanding all, you know, the layers underneath. I don't know what was underneath, whether they'd had a load of primer underneath it. I couldn't see any filler repairs as such, so I don't know if it's something minor and then they had issues with paint and loaded paint on their base coat and stuff. But there was a lot of material on there. So yeah, it was dry enough, but it was borderline. It felt soft. You could sort of almost get your nail in it, and yeah, it was clogging up the paper. So yeah, so obviously give it a good block, feathering out where it's all flaking, where the scraper mouldings were, feathering all that out, and now doing all the edges by hand. Don't know if you can see in that picture below where the moulding was, they just let over spray gun there. All the paint was flaking off under the moulding. Now I know it's under the moulding, but you can just tell the evidence of that, with all the rubbing down water still left on it. It's just an untidy job. It was a mess. So yeah, we had to sort of feather out a load of stuff, even though it was under the moulding, because we needed to mask under there, and none of the paint was attached to them. They just let the overspray go over the wiring and all sorts, which I know you don't see it, but I always think, even stuff that's hidden, I like to do a neat masking under it, just I don't know, just in case someone might remove something that I've masked. You know, you've got a bit of hidden masking under something, I still make that look, you know, neat, and clean up underneath where trims and stuff go back on. I clean that up before the trim goes on. It's just good housekeeping, really. And you know, that's, you know, the art of a good paint job, you know, is it's down to all of it, not just what you're doing on the panel itself, but just your housekeeping is a good way to go. You know, it sort of sets you up for the rest of the job. So those panels now, they've been all blocks with 320 grit, and now I'm going over all of it with 500 grit, and didn't really break through. Only broke through on the flaking bits that I needed to feather out. You know, it was like I said, there was a lot of product on there, and again, with the 500D, I guide coated it so I could see if the block had scored any from where it was picking up clear coat and blocking the sandpaper. Guide coat it all so I can see whether it scored it, which it did a little bit. And then again with the 500 grit, it's clogging up the paper again.
I can just contain it, man.
What grit is that?
500.
Really?
That's just the black is all
Shit.
chewy.
Yeah, it's
Soft,
sticky.
man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was having a few issues again with it clogging up, and obviously that can cause it to scratch what you're sanding, cause little pigtails in the surface. It's yeah, it can be a bit of a pain. So yeah, I got through a few discs, and yeah, and having a clean up as I go, keep cleaning the disc as I go. So now just going around all the edges again now with 500 grit, and yeah, onto the blend area now, which is the usual procedure that what I normally do. I sand all the faces with 800 grit, use film discs because, you know, they give a bit of a better scratch, and they don't clog up so much. So yeah, 800 800 grit film discs, and then sort of go round any edges with 1000 grit soft pad by hand, just lightly, nothing too major. Obviously you want to try and avoid any breakthroughs in your blend area. And then what I normally do, usual procedure, which most of you guys would do, is I do grey scotch wet with a bit of scotching paste, and I go over the whole panel really with a grey scotch, just to clean it up and get any little areas that I may have missed as well. And yeah, same procedure on the back. I do the same procedure on all my blend panels. Again, there's all various ways you could just grey scotch it, and I used to do that all the time. I like to take a bit of the texture out in the blend panel, but I do find when you do flat down all the clear coat and take most of the orange peel out of it in your blend areas, your clear coat sits slightly different on just the clear coated. If it's just clear coat on clear coat where you've sanded it flat, your clear coat goes a bit flatter than what it does over your base coat. You get a little bit of a variation in your finish. It's only slight, but you know it's got a good key then when you've sanded down it. And you know panels are gonna, you know, can have some scratches in them, so if there's some sort of superficial scratches in the clear coat in your blend area, if you give it a good sanding and not broken through, you know, you're not going to get any of them little scratches that may appear in your clear coat just in your blend area. I know a blend panel is just a blend panel. You should just be able to clear coat over defects because you're only using it for colour purposes only, but it's all little bits that you can do that are a little bit extra just to make even your blend panels look a bit better.
Do you want me to finish scotching the rest?
Yeah, I've already got scotch water. Yeah, you can do. Well, we need to sort them brackets out on that.
I don't know. Just not just leave them on it. Paint it. And then afterwards, just hold it up and rivet it.
Yeah. Yeah, we still need to get the other bracket off though, don't we?
What ones are that?
One we've got to put the nuts in. The end bracket.
Oh, right, yeah.
Most of you guys would do it anyway, I would have thought. In your blend area, if you've got a couple of chips, you can dab them in before you clear coat as well. Just little bits extra to make a job a little bit better. But like I say, on a blend panel, you're not really supposed to be tackling any defects really. It's just for colour purposes only. So that's it all prepped now. The blend panels are all prepped, and yeah, give it a good blow off, good clean off, get all your rubbing down water out the gaps, get it all dry, make sure you've got no water left in any trims or any gaps, and give it a good blowout. So yeah, onto the masking now. So I'll put the head cam on for this, so I'll sort of show you where I'm masking. So I use obviously just normal masking tape 1 inch and 2 inch, but this yellow tape is called Precision Line tape. So it's made by J Tape, and it's made of like rice paper. They call it rice paper tape, and there's other names for it. People call it Jap tape, but it's just a little bit softer, a little bit more pliable, thinner. This line one's got extra adhesive, but it's ideal for little tight trims and stuff like that bumper. You know, you could release that bumper off, but like I said, with the strip and fitting, where do you stop? You've got to draw the line somewhere to do a good job. No one wants build up of material. I'm quite a heavy painter, so I've been caught out a few times where I get build up on trims. But you've got to draw the line somewhere. You know, ideally you want that quarter glass out and that trim off the back. But I took the light out. I'm not going to release the bumper because, like I say, you spend more time on the stripping and fitting. So things like this precision tape, Jap tape, it's got a crisper edge on it. It's thinner. It's more pliable, more flexible. And it's ideal for rubbers and tight trims that you're not going to be taking off. It's it does get you out the shit, this tape, to be honest with you. It's expensive, but I only use it in certain areas. So a roll of inch, and I've got like a ½ inch of it as well. It would last me loads of jobs. It would last me a long time because I'm only using it on the stuff that's tight and the rubbers and stuff like that. And I think it's really handy to have. It's like I say, it's probably 3 times the price of a normal roll masking tape, normal roll of masking tape. But it, like I say, I just use it on the tight stuff, and it is really good for that. It peels off nice. It leaves a nice little edge on there. You know, it's not fine line tape as such. You could do a 2-tone line with it. It'd leave you a crisp enough line for that. But you can't really use fine line on rubbers and stuff. It just won't stick. So that precision tape, like I say, there's various tape manufacturers that make it. It's normally orange coloured, but that lime one is it's just it's got a higher like contact adhesive on it. It's got a higher strength adhesive on it, the yellow one, the lime coloured one. So yeah, I just bought that from J Tape, and just use it on the tight areas, and I highly recommend. You know, for tight masking, it's ideal for that. So yeah, just giving you a look at how I mask. You know, a couple of things I do. I do use a soft edge foam in gaps, but I don't use it as my edge. You know, as my visible edge. I just find it leaves too much of a crusty edge, the foam. And I know there's various types out there, but I just use this box standard foam that's been about for years. I know there's lots of other types out there now. I just use that, and I just use it as like a gap filler, really. I like to do my soft edge with the old traditional way, where you fold over a little edge on your knee, and use that as your little flap, as your little line, and then I normally just stick the foam over the top to fill the gap. One, to stop any overspray going in there, and 2, it stops any crap blowing out as well. So yeah, just stick it over the top. I don't have to worry about the edge being perfect on it, because I've already got the edge that I want with my 1-inch tape, the old way. And again, like these fuel flap casings inside, they're butt tight to the panels. There's no gap. You can't get tape behind them. You can't slip tape in it and pull it back. You're not going to be taking out all that fuel housing. You're not going to be taking that out. Some of them are only you have to break them to get them out. So you're not. So what I normally do, you've got a bit of an edge in that recess there. So I use the precision tape and get it as close on the rubber as I can to the panel. It's never going to be 100% there, but I get it as close as I can. Like I say, where this has got that precision tape has got a higher adhesive, it will stick. Even though it's all to grease, you can struggle sticking on rubbers. So I use that as close as I can on the rubber, and then I'll just make a little small soft edge. Make the bit I folded over smaller than what I normally would, and then just put a soft edge in on that edge that's further out. So just sort of like it's like a double precaution, really, for build up being in there, because you've got a little soft edge in there. You can, if it does build up on the soft edge, you've got a little bit of scope for giving it a little nib and a polish and neatening it up. And then obviously if any does creep under that soft edge, I've got a bit of tape behind that to protect that rubber, And some rubbers you can scrape off some overspray and make it look neater, but then you run the risk of making the rubber look a little bit tatty, trying to scrape it off. So yeah, that's what I do. Tape off the rubber and then put a little soft edge next to it. And on this I would normally stick foam down on that little recess on that back door. If I'm doing a side on a car or doing a back door on a front door, I would put a soft edge on that. There's a rubber that sits over that lip in that door. but they just let all the they took the rubber off. That's one of the only things they did take off on this job when they painted it. They pulled that rubber back, and there was it was rough as anything in there, just with overspray and build up. So I had to sand all that down in that edge. But you know, obviously with the door shut, I'm not going to get a full coat of base, you know, full coats of base coat in that edge with the door shut, or clear coat. So I just backmasked off it, stuck a little bit of sheeting inside. That's just like again, that's J tape. It's just like just a metre wide plastic sheeting on a roll, just a metre wide. So it's just handy to have around just for doing bits like that. So just backmask off of there and let that sheeting sit in there to stop any overspray going inside the car and inside that aperture. And yeah, like I say, I would normally stick a bit of soft edge in there because that would just seal off the gap and stop overspray going in there. So I stuck that sheeting in there, and then yeah, tape up as much as the door. When you've got a rubber in a door, that will sort of act as a barrier as well if you've got tape over it. And yeah, you know, you're masking it. You want to just go over the top with it, really. I think it's better to go over the top with your masking than not have enough, you know. A couple of reasons is there's always a risk of stuff blowing out of gaps, but you know, if you've got some nice clean tape in there, you're going to minimise stuff blowing out of gaps and stuff. And yeah, just try and protect as much as you can. So, some places you're going to get overspray going there. It's unavoidable, but you know, if it's hidden places, you're not going to see it. And then you always got a scope of cleaning some light overspray off. And yeah, so yeah, just shut that door down, and that's all nicely masked there. And again, on that front light, I'm not going to take that headlight out just for a blend panel. Sometimes if they're really tight or they've got a rubber gasket on them, I'll just undo the bolts and see if I can just wedge it out the way a little bit to give myself a little bit of a gap. Again, these are a little bit of a pain. There's, the bonnet sort of overhangs the wing a little bit, and if you're masking that off, there's various ways you could do it. You could do what I've done there, put soft edge on it and then chuck some paper or sheeting over that engine bay and on the underside of the bonnet. But I just put a couple of layers of tape either side, inside the bonnet, inside the wing edge, and again I do the same thing that I do in the shuts. Use the foam. I'm just checking to see where the bonnet sits and where the gap is. And there's like rubbers there where I'm poking in with with my little scalpel, just trying to poke the rubbers that I've masked, and then touching the panel a little bit, so trying to poke them out of the way. And then yeah, just use soft edge again just to fill that gap in, to stop any gaps of overspray going in and stuff blowing out. And yeah, just had to check it needed lowering a little bit. And yeah, that's my talk through on masking, really. I must admit, I do enjoy masking. I like masking cars. It's not too strenuous, and it's not dirty, so it's not a dirty part of the job like the sanding or the spraying, you know, with dust and overspray and stuff. I find it quite therapeutic to do the masking. I'd be quite happy to mask cars all day long, to be honest with you. It's no noisy equipment, no dirty fumes anywhere. You can just crack on with it, and I find it quite peaceful to do masking. And yeah, just use that precision tape on the tight areas, because bumpers, they're so tight, everything's so tight on panels nowadays, and with high solid clear coats and base coats and stuff, just run the risk of build-ups all the time, and it's horrible. I hate when I pull masking off and I may have over applied some product, and then you can't get the tape off, the tape rips and it's bonded to the panel that you've painted. I find it so annoying. It's just untidy. So yeah, it can always be a challenge masking stuff up. And like on that bit there, I've just done a little soft edge on the back of that quarter panel, and then just done a bit of old school back masking on top of that, which then fills that gap up, stops anything from creeping around, and I still get a fairly neat soft edge, which is handy. And again, with this handle, I've got the cap off, and the beauty of having that cap off is the handle itself. When it sits in now, I've had to lock the car. When it sits in there, it sits a bit lower than the door skin itself, which was handy, and it's given me good enough gap, because again, there's a real tight rubber that's obviously to stop water getting in that door. It's right up against the door skin, but with that handle cap off, it gave me a bit of room to get some tape in. So that's the end of this video. So this is part 1. Part 2 will be the spraying, so look out for that video. Thanks for watching, really appreciate it, and we'll see you again in the next one. Look after yourselves. Cheers.